everybody. Welcome back to another video with me, Brooklyn. So I'm going to jump right into the video. Today we're going to be talking about a North Carolina school, okay? So Black North Carolina students sold by classmates at school slave auction, a mother says, okay? Some Black students reportedly were sold by classmates at a recent slave auction at a Chatham County school in North Carolina, prompting the superintendent to send a letter to families condemning recent unacceptable incidents. In a letter sent Tuesday night, Chatham County Superintendent Anthony Jackson told families that the district had become aware of recent incidents involving students using racially insensitive language and offensive imagery. Jackson's letter didn't specify specifically the incidents, but a Chatham County parent who has been in contact with district officials detailed in Facebook posts about the slave auction and a video that used the N-word. Our son experienced a slave auction by his classmates, and when he opened up, we were made aware that this type of stuff seems to be the norm, so much that he didn't think it was worth sharing. Ashley Palmer wrote in a Facebook post Friday, his friend went for $350, and another student was the slave master because he knew how to handle them. We even have a video of students harmonizing the N-word. Since when were children so blatantly racist? Palmer didn't immediately respond Wednesday to a request for comment on Facebook from the News and Observer. She also made her first Facebook post private by late Wednesday afternoon. This was written back March 10th, 2022. Okay, so it says here that in the Facebook post, Palmer, the parent of one of the students who was sold in an auction, a slave auction, she wrote that the students received a one-day suspension for the auction, but that no action had been taken yet about the video. She also said in the Monday update that the student who had acted as slave master accidentally hit her son with a baseball, 4 times upon his return to school. It's a shame my child isn't safe at school, Palmer wrote Monday. Where is the staff when this is happening? Now, when my son gets fed up, will they protect him the way they have protected this other child? Okay, now I'm not going to read the whole article, but this right here just plain out ridiculous. She's saying, where were the staff? The staff was there. They said this is the norm, that her son didn't even think that it was worth mentioning. So where has this parent been in teaching her child about history? Okay? Because he thought it was the norm. So if he thought it was the norm to go to school and be sold off as a slave to another student where his friend was sold for $350, that's the norm, what has she been telling her child? Why would he think that was normal to be sold off? Slavery has been all over the place. Everyone's talking about the history of slavery. So how does her child think that it's the norm to go to school and be sold off in a slavery auction? How is that the norm? Why would he think that's the norm? Is she not talking to him about what's going on in the world? What has went on in the past, in our histories, with our ancestors? How could her child think it's the norm to go to school and be called racially insensitive names and be sold in a slave auction in school? She's asking where the staff was. The staff was there. They were allowing this to go on. You cannot go to school and your teachers does not know what you're doing. You're selling off students. They had an auction. That means you had to be standing up somewhere and people bid on you. So the teachers were there. They knew this was going on. And they got suspended for one day for the auction. Nothing for the video where they were chanting the N-word and harmonizing the N-word, okay? Nothing for that. Let's even, the video, yes, that should suffer consequences, but you sold somebody to another student who was going to use you in school as a slave. Then, when the child goes home and reports it, he comes back to school to be accidentally hit with a baseball 4 times. Because his master now is going to beat him for running and telling. The teachers were aware. Then the superintendent, Mr. Jackson, writes a letter, but he doesn't specify exactly what goes on at the school. So why are you even writing a letter? Why would you even write a letter but not tell exactly what's going on in the school? There was an auction. They're selling black children as slaves, and your children are expelled from school for the rest of the year. How about that? How about that? And then these black parents should be suing the school district. You're waiting for them to punish the students, and she's asking the question, when have children been so blatantly racist? Always. Always. That's not the first time that children have shown racism. So I want to know where she has been. She's asking this question, why, when have children been so blatantly racist? And he didn't think it was anything worth mentioning? That his friends were being sold off as slaves? He didn't think it was worth mentioning? It was normal? Where has she been? What has she been teaching her child? They're living in the Stone Ages. She's sheltering her child. She's trying to protect him from the cruel world and not telling him what's going on for him to think that's normal. How can you think it's normal to be sold? It's all in the history. It's in our history how they sold us off. How could he think that was normal? How could he come home and say, I thought it was normal, I didn't think it was worth mentioning, they're selling us off at the school. My friend went for $350, but I thought it was normal. It's normal. I didn't think it was worth mentioning. I'm not understanding what kind of communication. There's a gap somewhere between her and her child. There's a gap. If he don't know the history of slavery, there's a gap. And even if you didn't know the history of slavery, somebody putting you on an auction block in school and selling you to another student for $350, they're bidding on you. And you have the nerve to ask a stupid question, where was the staff? The staff was there. They probably built the doggone auction block. In order for you to get the student, you had to bid. You had to bid. And normally when you're in school, I worked in the school system and I went to school. Normally children are not left unattended. There's some supervision going on. So students were being supervised when this was going on. And how did he think it was normal? The black student, he thought it was normal, but the white students, they knew enough about our history and their history to know that they were selling off black people, that the white ancestors were selling off our ancestors. These white children knew enough about history to know that that was taking place. So how this black little boy, he didn't know. He thought it was normal. But the white children, they knew enough to sell, to participate in the slavery auction because they know history. They know history, but we don't know history. She didn't teach her child because he thought it was normal. I keep saying it over and over. How could in the world he thought it was normal? I'm not understanding. Teach your children. Teach your children, whether he knew about slavery or not. It's not normal to be sold in school. You watch your friend go for $350 and then you come back home for telling it. You come back to school from going home and telling what went on, and you get hit upside your head with a baseball accidentally 4 times because your slave master is now chastising you. And nothing was done about that. Only a day suspension for the auction. Where the money at? Did they return the $350 or whoever else got money? They should be expelled from like school. Like, you're out of school for the rest of the year. You're not going here. Whoever participated in this racially charged, humiliating situation should be expelled. And Anthony Jackson, the superintendent, how you going to write a letter, sir, and don't tell in the letter exactly what took place? What are you trying to hide? Why are you protecting? Why are you protecting those children? They should be exposed. It's just ridiculous. I just wanted to get that out there. Tell your children what's going on. Teach them history. They want us to forget history. They want us to forget our past, forget about slavery. No, you tell your children what their ancestors have gone through and what they are trying to put us back into as of today. This is going on today. This happened this month, March 2022. They're trying to put us back into slavery. If this young man had not have opened up his mouth and went home and told, they would have actual slaves in the school, where these children, these black children, would be slaves to these white children in school. And nobody's going to tell me that these parents didn't know. These parents and these teachers knew what these children were doing. And the children probably got it from some of the parents. It was taught somewhere. They learned it somewhere to have that kind of behavior and thought it was acceptable. Teach your children. Black mothers, black fathers, teach your children. That's not acceptable. No one. And they had to be, this is another thing I want to say. They had to be forced to stand there and be sold. So they were bullied, and they had to be forced to stand there while the white children picked them and bid on them. And he thought it was normal. That's sad. He thought that was normal behavior, that blacks were getting sold off in school. He didn't think it was worth mentioning. I don't understand why she wasn't teaching her child. He should know. I mean, he don't know that it was I'm not understanding. I'm very confused. I don't understand. He didn't think it was worth mentioning because it was normal. He thought it was. So this has been going on. They were being abused and mistreated in the school. It was normal, which tells me that he doesn't know his history. He hasn't been taught. It's like he's been shielded and protected for him to think it was normal, because he knew his history of his ancestors, then he would have known that wasn't normal. And you don't even have to know it to be a history to know that it's not normal. Anyway, teach your children. And with that being said, I'm going to say vielen Dank. That's thank you very much in German. So vielen Dank for watching me. And choose, that's what? That's bye in German.